Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Of course, let's bring you the big stories we've been tracking on the polity right now. There's no single individual spokesperson for the presidency, as 3 special advisors will collectively serve as spokesperson for the government. Some Nigerians accuse government of paying lip service to cost of governance with this development. The president commends the creation of Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty, championed by President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva of Brazil. And President Bola Tinubu writes to the National Assembly seeks approval of 1.767 trillion naira as new borrowing plan in the 2024 Appropriation Act to part-finance the budget deficit of 9.7 trillion naira for the budget 2024. Thanks again for joining us on the program. It's your midday gateway into what's going on in the polity and in politics. I can tell you that news that filtered in earlier today indicates that the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in Ogun State, Mr. Ladi Adebutu, who was arrested and detained by the Department of State Services, has now been released. Less than 24 hours ago, the People's Democratic Party in Ogun State had disclosed that it was arrested by the DSS in the state. The police public relations the PDP publicity secretary, I should say, that's Mr. Kayode Adebayo, confirmed the arrest and detention of Mr. Adebutu in a statement he released in Abeokuta on Monday. According to him, Mr. Adebutu was reportedly invited for questioning, allegedly in connection with the disturbance during the local government election that held last Saturday, November the 16th, 2024, where the APC swept all the polls. So we're actually following development on that particular story. But let's tell you that in the meantime, outside our shores, President Bola Tinubu, let's stay within our shores first off, because there are 2 stories that has to do with the president. President Bola Tinubu has written to the National Assembly. He's actually seeking approval of 1.767 trillion naira, about over $1 billion as new borrowing plan in the 2024 Appropriation Act to part finance the budget deficit of 9.7 trillion naira for the year 2024 budget. The president's request was read by the speaker during plenary today. The president had also forwarded the MTEF FSP 2025-2027 to Parliament and the NSIP Establishment Amendment Bill to make social register the primary tool for implementation of federal government social welfare programs. All right, so for context, let's know that the 2024 budget is still running. There's a supplementary budget of 6 trillion naira that was added to the 2024 budget that came to about 34 trillion. And then we also had the 2023 budget, so concurrently running. And we're expecting a presentation of the 2025 budget, which is to the tune of about 47.9 trillion naira, which will be perhaps the highest in the nation's history. Still with the presidency, but this time outside our shores, where the president has hailed the creation of a global alliance against hunger and poverty, championed by President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva of Brazil. The president described the alliance as pivotal in the global fight against hunger and poverty. According to a statement by the Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Mr. Bayo Nanuga, the president gave the endorsement at the 19th G20 Leaders Summit opening session in Rio in Brazil. He lauded the initiative and described it as the right step to address one of the world's most significant challenges.
The fight against hunger and poverty is not a matter of choice, but a matter of priority for me. Where do I get those helps? I have a very vibrant youth population, 70% below the age of 30. To all of us here, investment in education, investment in health, in investment in food security, cheaper financing, de-risking various African countries, putting us on a better and more progressive arrangement to prioritize food security and the agricultural reforms.
All right, let's tell you of a move in the presidency that has sparked reaction in the polity following the president's restructured media and communication team. It says to enhance communication efficiency, Mr. Sunday Dare is now a special advisor on media and public communication, a position recently occupied by Mr. Daniel Bwala. Mr. Bwala is now the special advisor on policy communication. Mr. Obasanjo still maintains his role as Special Advisor, Information and Strategy. In a statement by Mr. Onanuga, this means the President doesn't have an individual as a spokesman. Rather, there are now 3 presidential spokespersons, in their words, to ensure effective and consistent communication of the government policies, decisions, and engagement. A development that some Nigerians have described as government paying lip service to pruning the cost of governance to further reduce waste. So those are the 3 gentlemen: Bayo Onanuga, Info and Strategy; Sunday Dare, Media and Public Communication; Daniel Bwala, Policy Communication. Those are the presidential spokesperson of President Bola Tinubu. Okay. And that's why we're going to leapfrog from, or piggyback from, this particular latest movement in the communication team of the president. We've been joined by public affairs analyst, Mr. Jide Ojo, who joins us via Zoom from the nation's capital, Abuja. Mr. Ojo, thank you so much for coming on the program.
It's my pleasure, Geoffrey.
Okay, there are a couple of things, but I will need your immediate reaction, because if you go across social media, there's been all kinds of talk. In fact, a gentleman reeled out, I wasn't even aware of all of the names, about 13 persons in the communication and media team of the president. And now we've seen this happen just less than 78 hours ago or so. Daniel Bwala was appointed as special advisor to the president on media and public communication. We don't know what had played out. They just granted an interview last night with Shehu, my colleague, on PoliticsToday. And by this morning, things have shifted. Dara has been brought out from the Minister of Information, now domiciled in the presidency, and then Bwala has been moved to policy. Help us make sense of why the president needs all of this level of communication experts in his team.
Thank you very much, Geoffrey. It's just so unfortunate how we run government in Nigeria, given the fact that you just said in your background that Nigeria is borrowing huge sums of money again, or the approval plan to borrow more has just been sent to the National Assembly. And yet you are having 13 people to speak to you, to speak for you, rather. There is a special assistant on print media. There's a special assistant on social media. There is another person for broadcast media. There are coterie of it. And now you have a 3 spokesperson. What is it that these 3 or 13 people needs to tell the public that the president himself could not tell us? Did you know that in all of this, President Bola Tinubu has not had one single media chat over 16 months after he came to power? And I thought, as somebody who has huge investment in the media himself, being a proprietor of several media organizations, he should know that he needs to speak directly to the people rather than the occasional nationwide broadcast, and then speaking through these 13 people who are now, having to be his mouthpiece. The point is that in this austere time, I don't think the president actually needed either 3 or 13 people to speak for him. Geoffrey, don't forget that each of the over 30 ministries also have press secretaries or public relation managers, all the ministries. So this is just sheer wastefulness of public resources that what one person could do, you are hiring 13 people to do it. And if you are asking me to second guess why Daniel Bwala may have been redeployed from his earlier position held under 24 hours or 48 hours, it may be as a result of public outcry against his appointment in the first place. This is somebody who abandoned the president when he needed him most. He told the world that the president had personal interest in him and pledged a prominent position for him in these campaigns towards 2023 presidential election. And he went public that he had to leave the president and left the APC to go and manage the public relations for the main opposition candidate, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. In PDP, throughout the campaign period, he stuck with former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and PDP. Now, when the same person you castigated in the lead up to the election have won and have formed government, you now started another round of dalliance with him. Of course, you don't expect people who suffered to market President Tinubu in the lead up to the 2023 elections to be happy with his appointment. Because I know that there are 3,000 persons in the presidential campaign committee. And I'm not sure President Tinubu has made up to 1,000 appointments since he assumed power. And he may not be able to make the entire 3,000. I mean, even if he wants to be generous and magnanimous, I'm not sure in his 4-year term, he can appoint 3,000 people who are members of the presidential campaign team. And that is just presidential campaign team. You are not talking of the party itself, which have millions of members. So if you abandon the cause, believing that cause will fail, what moral justification, even if there are no legal impediments, what moral justification have you to now want to come and serve under the same government you took time and resources to castigate? You said you don't believe in Muslim ticket, but it is the Muslim ticket that has won the race for President Tinubu. So if you hated Muslim ticket in the campaign period, you should not be benefiting from the same ticket after they have won. To those who worked, who tried to have President Tinubu win the 2023 presidential election, it's a slap on their face. And it's like benefiting through the back door. So I think that's part of the outcry.
Okay, clearly there are so many things going on. For me, the way I'm reasoning it now is Bayo Onanuga is perhaps a very strong man because a lot is going on here. The president has a right to appoint and fire whoever he wants. So I want to speak to a couple of other issues. Do you feel that this president is encumbered by too many IOUs? Because the more we shout that your cabinet is bloated, it's too much. You have constitutional responsibility to appoint 36 people, maybe 37 because of the FCT, and that's it. Every other one is discretionary. But the president is getting up to 50, or I think 48 as at the moment. And then if you look at other attendant positions that are not ministers, like this one now we're seeing. So is it a problem of I owe you, or just insensitivity to the pulse or the policy? This one is directed at the presidency, as the president himself.
It's a combination of the two. It's a combination of the two. There is a whole you element. There's also the insensitivity on the part of the president. And I don't know what we can say the president actually holds Daniel Bwala. Unless what we don't know, maybe Daniel Bwala was planted as a mole in the camp of Atiku Abubakar in the lead up to the campaign, so that he was feeding the Tinubu presidential campaign about what is going on within the Atiku Abubakar presidential campaign council. If he was able to do that for Tinubu as a man, as a mole inside the Atiku Abubakar presidential council, then I would say President Tinubu may be justifiable to say he holds Daniel Bwala. For crying out loud, Daniel Bwala is not even a communication expert. He's a lawyer. He's not a professional media or somebody with a background in journalism. So on what basis will the president feel that he is obligated to appoint him to a high position of that nature?
All right. So
I really don't know. And in any event, I think the president should have been very sensitive to public concerns, because you are spending so much on overhead. Like you rightly pointed out, on this same program, I've castigated President Tinubu for appointing too many people in his cabinet. And he didn't just care. He went ahead, established Ministry of Livestock Development, and appointed two additional ministers in the recent cabinet reshuffle. So on the whole, we have about 50 ministers, because the president himself remains the substantive minister of petroleum resources, having appointed two ministers of state.
All right,
so
Mr. No, just land on that thought so I can move on.
Why should he, in one breath, Geoffrey, he wants the implementation of Stephen Oronsaye report on reduction of cost of governance, and in another breath, you are creating additional ministries, department, agencies, and making appointments that is tantamount to replicate the duplication of duties. I think it's just not, it doesn't make sense to me as an individual anyway.
Okay,
maybe I'm not a politician, so I don't understand.
That's what I'm just wondering. Okay, policy communication, media and public communication, information and strategy. I'm trying to separate what is different from what. But do you think that, I don't know what Nigerian government has against women. Do you think that if a woman was in a mix, we've never had a female presidential spokesperson, at least in this democracy, and I'm wondering whose picture is going to be on the wall. You know, we have Femi Adesina's picture. We had Ajuri Ngalale. We had there was a time we had, I think, Ruben Abati. We had the guy who spoke for Yaradua.
We have
yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. So in quick response, would appointing a woman, wouldn't have made any difference? And whose picture do you think is going to be on the wall? Because they are saying there's no individual spokesperson. It's just three of them.
You are going to have three of them, the picture of three of them. And maybe one issues has to do with policy. They will push it to Bwala to respond. When it comes to information and strategy, they will push it to Bayo Onuga. When it has to do with national orientation or media and publicity, they will say, okay, Sunday Dare, you go, have a go at it. But all of these are just duplication of duty, which will cause tension within the president's media team. There's going to be a lot of tension. And I don't think this is right. I don't think the president is on point on this. He's not spot on with this appointment. It's unnecessary. It's unwieldy. Just the same way that is appointing close to 50 ministers is unwieldy. The same way I would say, without minding word, that appointing 13 people to be your spokesperson is unnecessary. We can cut down substantially because these people are going to have official vehicles. And don't forget, they will also have their own aides. They are not going to be working by themselves. This special advisor or senior special assistant, all of them will have their own aides who will still be working with them, scanning the news ecosystem and all of that. So at the end of the day, the state is going to be using a lot of resources that could have been deployed to national development or infrastructural development being spent on overheads, extra codes, and all of that. Because when it comes to who will travel with the president, maybe it's going to be rotated. I don't know if any of them is with the president in Brazil attending G20 meeting. But whatever it is, I think we can do with just one individual heading a team than having 13 people who will be talking at cross purposes at some point.
Okay, let's maybe moving away from this restructuring of the president's media team. I know that former President Olusegun Obasanjo had actually stirred the nest with his comments about the leadership of INEC and Mahmoud Yakubu and the idea that, look, the tenure should be shortened and maybe some of these people should be excused or literally fall on their sword. The header that Bayo Onanuga used to respond to him, his former President Obasanjo was not an ideal leader to emulate. Those were strong words. In your view, is there merit in what the former president has said? And is this reaction too brutal for the former president from the presidency?
Sincerely speaking, Obasanjo is a Yoruba man like myself, but he's not my own ideal leader. He's not an ideal leader. This is a man of destiny who had the opportunity, the longest serving president of Nigeria, being 3 years as head of state and 8 years as democratically elected president. When he knows all of these things, why did he not implement it when he was president? Why did he not reduce the tenure of INEC chairman when he was president? When he said the 2007 election was going to be a do or die, why did he not sack Maurice Iwu when he conducted the worst election in the history of Nigeria? Why did he not sack him? The election that even the beneficiary, former president, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua said was a travesty, an election in which he has to initiate electoral reform within 2-3 months of coming to power. So it's not ideally President Obasanjo is not somebody that should advise you and you take to such advice. I think former President Obasanjo is a megalomaniac. He's suffering from megalomania. It's either his way or highway. Anybody that doesn't fall in line, fall behind him, is on derail.
Those are strong words. Those are actually strong words. I think those are actually strong words. Yes.
No. I mean, let's be sincere. Let's be sincere, Geoffrey.
Yeah, just about 1 minute.
Left power. Since Obasanjo left power, anyone, all the people that he has brought to power, from Goodluck Jonathan, from Umaru Musa Yar'Adua to Goodluck Jonathan to former President Buhari, he fought with them. Why is it that it's only him that he felt has the monopoly of wisdom on how to get things right? And if you even have that kind of Solomonic wisdom, why didn't you express it when you were in power? You are saying that INEC's chairman's tenure should be reduced, it should be sacked. On what basis? What is the justification? What's the benchmark? And we know that President Obasanjo, even though he said he's no longer doing politics, he's still actively involved in politicking. After all, he backed Peter Obi in the last presidential race. In 2009,
totally out of time.
he also backed, he tried to form the third force under ADC. So it's either his way or highway. And that kind of leader is not somebody that you want to take advice from.
Mr. Jide Ojo is a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for your insight on the issues raised today. Thank you for coming on the program. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Keep safe and have a great day.
Absolutely, and you too. Okay, let's move on to other stories before we wrap up the program. To issues of national security, the Nigerian Air Force has confirmed that airstrikes conducted by the air component of the Operation Fasanyama has successfully wiped out a major arms depot and the residence of notorious bandit kingpin Malam Saleh in Palele, Chiroro local government area of Niger State, and killed a great number of terrorists. A statement by announced Director of Public Relations, Air Commodore Lushola Kimboyoa, explains that the critical intelligence played a role in tracking Malam Saleh's movement and meticulously planned a strike to dismantle his operations. Malam Saleh, a known loyalist of Dogo Gide, had long terrorized Shiroro communities with relentless attacks, abductions, and extortions. The Nigerian Air Force says it is committed to collaborating with ground forces, maintaining air dominance through regular patrols, real-time situational awareness, and precision interdictions to help our national security. And that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time and, of course, your usual company. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga. You've been served on Lunchtime Politics. Bye-bye.